So some of you have been there, so you've seen them 100-foot cliffs, sandstone cliffs coming out of the pond. So this diver went down, right down to the bottom, and he went all the way along the bottom of this cave, or the sandstone. And lo and behold, he found a cave. Right at the bottom. And he started going back into the cave, and he had an equipment problem with his breathing apparatus. And so he decided to come back out and came up to Dad. And he wanted to go home and bring a bunch more equipment and some other divers. He felt like he needed help, a buddy. So he actually went into the cave a little ways. Every diver that ever went into those caves, it's super dark. And if you touch the bottom, all this sediment comes up and you can't see this far in front of your face, even with a bright light. So he wanted to have a buddy companion and some buddies. And so he went home, came back the next week with several divers. And there's a little bit more to it than what I'm telling you. I'm kind of going through this a little faster. But they came back with a lot of equipment. And I'll skip a little bit ahead. They came down with 4 divers and a lot of equipment. They got into Dad's little boat, went out towards the cliff wall, and one diver went down, started back into the cave, and at this time they had a cord that they could communicate with, so that the diver could communicate with Dad and everybody on the boat. So the diver starts screaming, "I'm seeing ghostly figures, I'm being choked out, pull me, get me out of here. So they pulled him out, and he got out, got up into the boat, and he's like, oh my God, he was white. The other divers were laughing at him. They thought, oh, come on, So each one of the divers, there was 4 of them, decided that they would go into that cave. So each one by one, had the same experience. They dove in, they got in about 60 feet, and lo and behold, the same thing happened. I'm being choked down, and I'm seeing ghostly figures, get me out of here. So every single one of them had that similar experience. So after that, they all picked up their stuff, and they took off, and they told Dad, never call him again to come dive that place. Dad actually called him a year later and asked him if they would be willing to come down and dive again, and they absolutely refused. So we knew that there was a cave, and Dad believed that probably maybe the cave led to where the treasure was hid. So the next thing he did is he hired a company that it was a gold detecting piece of equipment. And what they did is they went around and they drilled a bunch of holes in a large area and put prongs into the sandstone. Out of the prongs was a wire. Each one of the prongs, there was like 12 of them. And they came to a box. And so when this guy was setting up his equipment, and he was just a hired hand from a company that Dad hired. I came down, I was there at the property when he was setting up, and I came down and I asked him, I said, so how are things going? And he goes, they're going good, but it's the strangest thing because I looked up on that knoll, we had a little knoll to the south of where we were standing, and he said, I saw an Indian dressed in full Indian garb holding a spear. And I said, oh, come on. And he goes, no, I swear, it was right up there. And I said, well, what happened to him? And he said, I don't know. He said, I went back to work, setting my equipment up, and after a while I looked back up there and he was gone. We had a couple of experiences like that with the Indians on the property. So anyway, he got his equipment all set up, came to this box, in the middle of the box, there was a window with a gauge in it, and it went from 0 to 100 to the right, and it went from 0 to 100 to the left. I can't remember what it meant if it went to the left. But if it went to the right, it meant that there was a lot of metal in the ground. So I was standing right next to him, and we started walking around this flat area that I had made flat. Well, actually, this was before that, so it wasn't flat. But we started walking around up on top, and we walked over this one place, and then the needle being all the way over to 100. And then he walked off of this area, and it went back to 0. So he turned around, came back, and when he got over this certain area, it flipped all the way to 100. And I said, gosh, what do you think's down there? And he said, I don't know, maybe a Volkswagen. So I said, what do you think? And he said, well, there's a lot of metal down there. A lot of metal. So then we knew that there was something down there. And we had lots of different technologies come down. Dan will be talking about some of what he did. He did a lot down there to map out caves and caverns and the treasure. We know the treasure's there. Absolutely, we've had too much evidence that the treasure's there. But what happened is after this guy came in and we knew where the treasure might be, Dad hired a well driller to come in. So this well driller came in and he drilled a 4-inch hole down right over where this guy had mapped out where there was a bunch of metal. And when it got down about 80 feet, it just sunk. So obviously he went into a void, cavern. So they pulled the drill bit out, and Dad went and got a little tiny camera that he had. It was just a little one. He put it down there with a rope, had a little bit of light. When he got into the cavern, he could see a big pile of something on the ground. And then off to the left, he saw the image of a man, statue maybe, standing there. So they got really excited. He pulled the camera out, and they told the well driller they'd like him to come back the next day and drill a 10-inch hole so that they could get more light down there and maybe a better camera. So he went home. The next day he came back with a 10-inch drill bit. He started drilling down the 4-inch hole, making it bigger. He got down about 50 feet, and the drill bit lodged, and it broke off. And that happened a lot down there. We've got all kinds of drill bits in that ground. We've got one $15,000 diamond bit, drill bit. So it broke off. So the well driller quit, went home that night, and had a heart attack and died. And then 3 weeks later, his wife died. He was 45 years old.
Oh my God.
Didn't have any health problems that we knew of. That well driller, the outfit, the rig, sat up there on 3 legs for over a year because we couldn't get any of his family members to come and take it because he had been talking to them about things and they were scared to death just to come and take the well driller off the property. So that was one of the... Dad decided he wanted to rat hole, put a 2.5-foot hole into the ground so that actually somebody could go down in there. So he asked me to, I owned an excavating company. I had a D8 cat. It had a single shank ripper, and I was putting penetration teeth on it. He wanted me to come down and lower the surface area down about 50 feet, 50, 60 feet, and then make it flat for this rat holer. Rat holers are extremely expensive, especially when they're drilling into sandstone that's so abrasive. So we wanted to lower it down closer to the cabin. So anyway, I brought a D8 cat down there. I was working it for 3 weeks. And after 3 weeks, it was a newer cat. I came down, I would go home on the weekends, I'd come back on Monday. It was in December. Nothing was going on in Kanab. Kanab's dead in December, right?
Yes, pretty much. You can still go there, though.
Right, you can. By the way, Dan has an Airbnb down there if you would. But anyway, so while my cat was down, one time I came back on a Monday to get on my cat and start running it, and I had a major engine failure on this newer machine. So I called up my mechanic. He lived in Joseph. He came out, took the engine out of the frame, took it up to his shop, started tearing it down. He gives me a call and he says, this engine has been sabotaged. It's got sand all through it. Somebody put sand in the crank and in the radiator and everything. So anyway, there goes my motor, and that cost me about 35 grand.
Jesus.
But
Good deal.
so that made me really leery about continuing to help Dad after that happened to me. But after I had done my work down there with that DA, Dad did hire a rat puller, and they drilled down with the 2.5-foot hole. But the rat holder wasn't able to get deep enough and penetrate into the cavern. He didn't have enough. And that's the way it went. I mean, we always had problems. There was always something that came up that stopped us, stopped our progression. So they finally gave up on that. And I'll just tell you, another documentary's done, the History Channel 2, the UK did a documentary and a couple others. But I'll tell you a story real quick, and then I'll put the mic over to some of these other guys and let them talk. But I had developed a business plan for Three Lakes. I wanted to put in an adventure ranch resort on Three Lakes, which would have done extremely well because of its location. There's like 5 million tourists that drive past Three Lakes every year, coming out of Zions on the way to the Grand Canyon, Lake Powell. I wanted to put in a via ferrata climbing system, some ropes course, and zip lines coming off the cliffs, and a couple other things. So I was trying to find investors to partner with me and create this resort. Well, I found a group out of St. George, and the problem was, part of my business plan was that we would talk about the treasure. I got several investors interested, and every single time they started learning about the treasure story, all they wanted to do was see if the treasure was there. And I told them, we can't get the treasure. We've tried, and all kinds of bad things have happened. And, you know, the treasure is in the land. But they insisted. So this one group, they bought their own drill rig, and they brought it to the lake, and they are on top where we had been excavating. And they started drilling down, and the same thing happened to them. The drill bit lodged about 50 feet in. So they had to quit, and they wanted to go home. They wanted me to weld some brackets on the pipe so that maybe we could get some heavy jacks on it and try to loosen this this drill bit and take it out. So they went home, and that night we had the most outlandish lightning storm that I've ever lived through. I mean, the sky was just lit up. And it poured, it rained, it poured like crazy. So when I came down the next morning after this lightning storm and rainstorm, I went down, we didn't have any water in the house. So I went down to the pump house, And I had been renting this field to some people out of Colorado City to keep their horses there. They had fjord draft horses, and they were expensive horses. One of the horses had been hit in the head with the lightning, and it was killed. The lightning also hit the pump house, took the water pump out, and then the lightning went up the pipe, and every time we had a 90 bend or a 45, it would take all those bends out. So I had a major repair for that. So anyway, they gave up on that. So the last thing this group wanted to do is they hired a company that had a ground penetrating radar equipment. It was out of Wisconsin. They paid them like 12 grand to come out and use the machine on the property. So this group came out. They had a technician and they had a labor guy. And this unit was about 3 feet long, about 2.5 feet wide, and it just drug right on the ground. And then it had a cord that came out to a laptop so that you could see all the stratuses of the earth that whatever it was looking at. And then it had a rope coming out the front that was about 10 feet long, and the labor guy was up in front. So I had him set it up just south of where I knew the cavern was, and I had him start dragging it that way. And I was standing right next to the technician guy looking at his screen, and we could see down 100 feet. So we knew that that was far enough because we had determined that the cabin was like 80 feet down. And so this labor guy was pulling this unit along the ground. And what happens is the ground goes flat and then it starts going uphill like that. So when the labor guy hit that uphill, he started slowing down as the ground penetrating unit we started seeing the side of the cavern. So we were seeing the side of the cavern. At that moment, no lie, this is a true story. The guy drops to his knees and starts vomiting. And he vomits, and he vomits, and he vomits. And I'm like, gosh, guys, do we need to take you to the emergency room in camp? He's like, I'm healthy. He was only like 25 years old. He goes, I'm healthy as an ox. No, this will pass. Well, it didn't pass. He kept vomiting until all that was coming out was green stuff. And then finally we convinced him that, look, we better take you to the hospital. So we rushed him down, his guy, his labor guy, took him to the hospital in camp. But the unfortunate thing is they took their laptop. We were hoping that they would leave it so that we could continue to pull it over. But they took their laptop, they went down to Kanab Hospital. He was admitted into the emergency room and his heart stopped.
Oh my God.
And so they were able to get his heart going. They put him on a helicopter and flew him up north to IHC in Murray, a bigger hospital. While he was there, he went into a coma, and they were doing all these blood tests and all these tests on him, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong, so they decided that they needed to fly him out to New York to a neurological hospital because they thought maybe it had something to do with that. So just before they were going to fly him out, he started coming out of his coma and he came out. And in about a week, he fully recovered. They never could determine what was wrong with him. His hospital bill and all of his bills were like $500,000. So those kind of things happen over and over and over again every time we try to go after the treasure. So my wife put even being around, because one time we were almost killed in the house after a bunch of treasure seekers came down. Our propane heater in our master bedroom, for some reason, right after we had this group in there, was leaking propane gas into our bedroom. And I think I was going out of it. And this was about 3 o'clock in the morning when Mel, my wife, she started pushing me, trying to get me to when she finally got me away, I could tell that there was a whole bunch of propane gas in the room, and propane is very deadly. So we opened up the windows and went out to another room and slept. So from that point on, Mel didn't want to have anything to do with what we were doing. So anyway, I'll give the mic.
Yeah, let me just let me introduce you back to you. I'll pass it to you. But I just want to tell you again, my name is Truott, and I was very, very close to this project with his father, Brad. I just want to tell you that every single thing you heard today is absolutely true. It's a story for the ages, it truly is. And Dan knows a lot of the story of history coming in, but I want to just pay tribute. That's the picture you see of the three lakes and the cavern. Where you see that little opening indentation, that's where the cavern goes in. I want to make sure you understand that picture. Next slide, please, because this is Brad Child here. That's the man that I would love. Just an honest in heart, and this is his son. Okay, that's Mr. Brad Childs. So, oops. Just pay tribute to your dad. Okay, and I wanted to say just a couple things. I'll turn it over to Dan if I could, because Dan's got a lot. We got limited time. Brad was good at moving rock, right? He was one of the best I've seen. So I won't bore you about all the amber snail controversy, and I was deep into that nonsense. The amber snail being found only on 3 lakes, and it's very rare, very, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, all this nonsense. But the closest thing about the endangered amber snail is found in one place in South America. Primarily, that's the only place. How in the world did this get in 3 lakes in this pond? Enduring mystery. All right. I could tell some stories about the amber snail. We did some good work with that. But anyway, so the bottom line is we couldn't drain the pond. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services said, no way. It's too endangered. So, being the entrepreneur that Brad was, and the expert, he says, well, I can come in on the backside and figure the elevation of where the tunnel is based on everything he said about the drilling. Everything. Yeah, I witnessed that. The drilling would hit 50 feet, the diamond bits would break, and it was over and over again. So Brad said, I'll come back and I'll excavate, and I'm there with him. I'm helping him with this. Dig a tunnel going in the opposite side and go that way, and then go down. That was brilliant engineering, in my opinion. I witnessed this man drill the horizontal blast holes, dynamite it, boom, and he was making great time. He built tunnels for the UDOT. He knows how to go through rock. We went in, about 10 feet or so. It was quite a ways in. And he's drilling these horizontal holes to the blasting in, and the drills were doing the same thing. It was bucking and couldn't move. And this is still sandstone. Brad's face was like, I've never seen this in all the years I've ever drilled. But let's just go ahead and blast. Put the dynamite charges in, fire in the hole, boom. Nothing came out. Ladies and gentlemen, I witnessed that. I witnessed that. The look on your dad's face was like, what in the world is protecting this? Well, Dr. Ott, what do you think? Well, let's find out. This is starting to be in the realm of the metaphysical. It doesn't explain what's going on, so what do we do? And I'm a radio talk show host, have been, and I like talk radio, I talk a lot, okay? And I did put out the word on my radio show, International Impact. And we did have some people call and says, a couple of, and I checked the references, I'm not a woo-woo type of guy. They are gifted, for want of a better word, psychics that have been used by police detectives in solving major crimes. Now, I said, whatever, we need help here. So they actually came on the property and did a walk on the property and saw it. And it was amazing. The one gal says, can't you see him on the bluff? I said, well, you can't see the Indian with the spear? And I said, no, I can't see that. I'm looking with my binoculars. Oh, he's guarding this property. So when you heard the story, what Lon just said about that, let me just say I'm adding color commentary to it. So when he told the story at Mark's place this morning, I just did the same thing I'm doing now. Here's my corroboration of the color commentary, because my jaw dropped when I heard the Indian story. It connected, okay? So, next step, what do we do now? This is unique to me, because in my media contacts, I put it out, and a TV personality named Robert Stack. You remember Robert Stack? Unexplained Mysteries? Unsolved Mysteries, yeah. Thank you. He came out and did an investigation on it. Try and find that today. I've been through all of his archives. I cannot, if anybody can find it, I'd like to see it again. It's like it's not there. Why? Maybe Dan can explain that when he gets a microphone. But that's me. I'm the one that called and they did a whole TV production crew that came out and yes, they utilized, I don't know how much they talked about it on the show, because it's metaphysical. There's things they can't explain with it, okay? So I just want to say that Robert Stacks I did meet him, was there on site, and his jaw was dropped. He was like, this is something I can't explain. The other thing that I want to leave you with, the psychic said there are sacrificed warriors. She said, I remember about 100 that have been sacrificed or in the cabin. And that's what's guarding this. And there is call it whatever you want, some type of energy field protecting this structure. You'll have to figure out some way to negate that energy field structure. And I says, explain what you mean, energy field. She said, electromagnetic force field. That's why the blasting won't work. That's why the drills won't work. And I'm thinking, if I hadn't seen this with my own eyes, this would be too much woo-woo for me. But what can I say? So I remember Brand put out a little sign about the 1,000 or the 100 Aztec warriors protect. Remember that sign he put up? And people would stop there because of the publicity of Robert Stack's. Was it, 90 sometime he did this? Yeah, there were a lot of people in Utah at the time who's like, let's go see this place, let's go see this place. So I'll leave more time for Dan because he's got a lot of other commentary to come in with this. But let me just tell you this last thing. To me, the tragedy is who owns it now. And I don't think it's accidental. And I don't want to be sued for libel, so I'll be careful what I say. But let me tell you, it's not in good hands. So I'll just say that. And that's my opinion. And I hope I'm still entitled to an opinion, and I'll be able to share the opinion, okay? There's ties to this ownership. I'm an investigative journalist. I've did freelance investigative writing for the Kanab newspaper. Katie Thompson and I did some joint work exposing this directly back to Charles Manson, the Manson cultist people, and the very dark black magic you can never imagine.
Wow.
I'll just leave it at that. Okay? If there's any questions, talk to me afterwards. Dan?
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Dillman, third generation treasure hunter, explorer, unexplained, etc., etc. I want to thank all of you for being here. Lon Child is my good friend, and I want to get to some very important parts of Three Lakes. First and foremost, Kanab, Three Lakes, and the surrounding area is sacred land. And this Three Lakes location is extremely special. And we did an investigation about 25 years ago, and so I'm going to show you some stuff really quick so we can get these lights back on and you can see us. Not that you need to see us, but if we can get to the next slide will be Brant Child. Just like Truod said, that is Brant. Brant was an amazing man. If we can cut the lights and just until we get through these, just until we get through these slides real quick. Thank you, and then we'll turn on. So, in 1982, my family made an amazing discovery in Johnson Canyon, not too far away from Three Lakes. And so in 1982, my grandfather and my uncles, I'm going to say their names, Raymond Dillman, John Dillman, and Paul Dillman, made some amazing discoveries that I'll share with you later. But let's get to the next slide. I'm going to show you a quick video of Lon and me and an investigation we did. We did everything from GPR to Stingray ground penetrating radar, which goes down up to 200 feet. Let's play this one. So that's just a quick brief because we'll be here for a week to discuss everything. This is the amber snail. It is only found in Mexico, and it absolutely is a part of Aztec oral history about it being a protector of treasures, of their history, and we find that in Three Lakes. What you'll also notice, that was my Uncle Paul. He was a dowser, and as he was dowsing the lake, his dowsing rod was spinning and snapped, and he got extremely sick feeling. He was psychic as well, and he was the one on camera there in front of all of us who the stick broke, and he said there's absolutely dead bodies. What we've discovered is through all the stories, even us with our investigating, we have proven with ground penetrating radar there is a massive tunnel system, cavern, and there is precious metals there. This has all been scientifically proven. But that entrance, we got 60 feet in with the divers that you saw. When we came there, we didn't have any of those supernatural negative experiences. And we got about 60 feet into the tunnel. But what did happen is the barge that Lon and his brother had built for us, which was amazing, if you remember that. We've got all that film, by the way, started sinking. And so the pump started failing. So we did have something happen, and we were stopped from doing that. But my Uncle Paul said that this entrance, the reason why no one has gotten in this way is because it is meant to kill you. It is death. There we go. So really quick, if we can just hit this, because I just want to get through these slides. This is a camera going down one of the holes that Brant and Lon had drilled. And so then we'll have the cameraman show you. And just give it a few seconds there, and you'll actually get to see the camera watching going down the hole. So this is at Three Lakes. And there is a curse or protection over this treasure. You can decide which side of the fence you want to be on. But this treasure is protected. What you didn't hear is that Brant himself was on the excavator one day when an elderly native came out and spoke to him and told him this treasure was not for him. It was for the chosen ones. It is not the right time. You need to stop going after this treasure. And from what I understand, Brant heeded that warning for a while. Yes? And did we already go down? If it's looping, we can hit the next one. But it does drop down into the water. So here you don't see any golden statues or any of that stuff. but because the water level has risen. This is one of our guys. We did a stingray resistivity where the entire area that Ron had excavated, when we dug down 50 feet deep, we put probes all the way from one end to the other, all the way down, and that's when we lit up the entire cavern system. And Dr. Jim Fink, a very, very famous geophysicist, was with us. And he's the one who gave us the report saying, look, what we have is the cavern is full of water, except for this other large section where it's only halfway filled with water, and it appears to be a ledge, and that's where all these items are. We can get to the next slide. Yeah, you can just tap through. This is just going to show you. This is the divers. This is right at the area. We did, I don't know if I should tell you guys this, we did leave a PVC pipe in the tunnel hole. So it's still there. So we've left a link to right where the tunnel is, but once again, don't be silly. It is death that awaits you if you try to enter that way. Let's hit the next slide. Now this I want to show you because it's just amazing. This is a face of 3 legs. We have a turtle face. Do you see the turtle here to the left? You can see its Aztec style icon. Can't even talk right now. I didn't eat or have my coffee. And then we also have the golden snail resembled here. Then we have what's kind of like a totem type face, and we even have a lion. Can any of you kind of see those? And it's plain as day. That is above the face of 3 lakes to the right, near the entrance. So at some time in the ancient past, these things, these markers, these symbols were here and left. These are all protective symbols. These are all amazing, and they're definitely of Aztec style. Next slide. Now, I want to get to something that I don't know if anyone knows. I don't know if Ron knows. I think I've told this to Ron. He very well may know it. But that is Brant at our 82 discovery in Johnson Canyon, laying across what we call the sacrificial altar, or also known as the largest water glyph and first water glyph that was discovered. And so this is Brant visiting the Judd Ranch where we made our discovery in Johnson Canyon. And next slide. This is a letter, this is a note from the Judds giving to Brent photos that he wanted from our 82 discovery that my family, my grandfather and uncles made. And Brant was so intrigued, as we heard earlier, about Aztec treasure. And my grandfather was sharing information with the Judds about our next locations because we believe they were going to be our partners in Kanab and many sites that we have. And they were sharing the information unbeknownst to us. Totally okay. We love Juan. We love Brent. Cool. Next slide. There's the water glyph at 3 lakes. Next slide. We want to show this to you real quick.
Oh, you guys.
This is Ron on a zip line. This was supposed to be the last one, so we might have skipped over Ricky with the 3 circles, but let this finish.
Oh,
You
killed 5 snails. You killed 5.
Can you get to the slide that has the gentleman pointing to the 3 circles?
That's the last one.
It's probably up above. That would be crazy if we somehow got to leave it. There it is, right there, bam. All right, so that's Ricky. That's our family friend. That's at the Judd Ranch in Johnson Canyon. There's a horse he's pointing to the left of him, or to the right. You see the 3 circles there? That is 3 lakes. My grandfather had told the Judds that 3 lakes is the next location that we need to go to. And the Judds were sharing that information with Brant because Brant was obviously very intrigued about the Aztec items and discoveries that we made in Johnson Canyon. So I just wanted to share that with you. Something that people don't know, like I said, there's a protection. Call it a curse or protection. I don't know if you've heard, has anyone heard how Brant Childs actually passed away? Let me tell you something. It's unexplainable. He was driving home, coming down Highway 89, when a black horse came through his windshield.
He actually wasn't driving, it was his son-in-law. So,
His son-in-law was driving,
right.
and a black horse came through the windshield, and he passed away. Now, if I have my facts right, nobody claimed ownership of this black horse.
We finally tracked it down, we found him.
So, yeah, we finally tracked down the owner, and he actually compensated the family some for that accident that killed my dad.
How did the horse get on the highway?
It got out of its pasture.
Uh-huh.
Well, what happened was the gate was left open.
Exactly.
So,
Who opened the gate?
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we investigated deeper.
Right.
The gate was locked.
Tell them they can turn the lights on.
You can turn the lights on now. There's one really funny experience that happened about the blasting that I'll tell later, but I'll give it back to Dan.
So, once again, this place is sacred land. We have proven that there is stuff there. But it's only meant to be discovered at the right time. And like you've heard already, Best Friends Animal Society currently owns that property, and they do not want anyone on it. And they have taken everything that Grant did and have destroyed it. And they're right, they own the property now. Yeah, it does suck. But the realities are that this location is special. You can drive by, you can see it, you can feel the energy. Kanab, again, is a special place that has a lot of magical, spiritual, and cosmic energies flowing to it. There are so many ancient ruins in this area that even if you went and bought a house, like Trina over here, you will find ancient relics laying around. It's amazing, it's beautiful. Please honor the land. I'm not telling anyone this so they can go and be, grave robbers and whatnot, but I'm saying we must respect this sacred land. We can learn from it still. There's still more to be found, and this is a time, and I'll save it for my talk later, but we are in a cosmic cycle right now. Everything is cycles, from the moon setting to the sun rising, the setting to cosmic cycles, and we are in a major cosmic cycle right now. And that Native American said, at the right time, the Hopi have a prophecy, which I'll share tomorrow as well. At the right time, with the right people, this treasure will be revealed to the world. So,
Thanks, Dan. Excellent. Your history is amazing with that. Let me just add to that. My family, the Ott family, had the AUM grazing permits off of Johnson Canyon. You may or may not know that, but as a young lad of 16, and thank you, Terry, for all the videos that you've done. I was a young man, I went in there and discovered a giant skeleton, and I put that on Terry's. It's on Johnson Canyon Wash area, okay? That I was amazed. The cranial head and the way it was structured was massive. I was just a young 16-year-old, so I didn't know what I was finding, but I do know this, that my uncle was very, this is BLM land, we don't mess with it. I thought I was a dinosaur. I thought I found a new dinosaur or something. But I'm the one that found it in an old wash that I was looking for lost stray cows. And long story short, they excavated this giant. I was able to see it just enough to get my eyes pierced. Who knows where it went? I just know BYU was involved. Forensics was there. The Smithsonian, whoever. It was disappearing. Nobody. I thought it would be front page news. The giant. This thing was probably 17, maybe 20 feet tall.
Jesus.
But all the bones are put out. So what Dan was saying is so right, that the history of Johnson Canyon and the giants is very much a part of, and I'll be talking about that with my new friend who's listening here. We'll introduce Daniel to you. What an amazing story. I mean, amazing story. I spent the day yesterday with Dan, learning more about him. Never met him before. We ever met before, Dan? No. And he's got big pieces to the puzzle, I'll just tell you that. Okay? You may not believe it yet, but you'll see it as it unfolds. Also, I just want to also say what's in Johnson Canyon that you may or may not know. My uncle discovered this, my cousins and I both, up on one of the sandstone bluffs, where, sandstone should not be in the same place as igneous rocks. There's this, on this roof, there was about 12 dozen, or maybe as many as 20 of these igneous boulders that was archaeologists or geologists said was shot out of some volcanic flow. Just igneous rock boulders on the sandstone. Well, one day during the thaw cycles, one of those had cracked off. I was there with my cousins, my odd cousins, and walked up and saw that. And it was unique because it had cracked open, but it was carved. It was like, imagine a cork in a champagne bottle. The igneous rock was carved as a cork of a circular, some type of ancient technology had cut that in. And so we came up and got a pry bar and over and started looking, and guess what? Inside of those, there were burial chambers of very large individuals. Now again, it's BLM land, we're just at the animal unit monthly grazing permits. But sometimes ranchers find things, and sometimes they notify dutifully the government. We're good citizens, right? We do what we're supposed to do. I can tell you for one, I saw what happened to that. It gave me post-traumatic stress disorder from my giant discovery. Because those were dynamited and blasted, who knows what happened to the inside. So, I'm telling you, what you think you know in history, this is why we have Moonlight gatherings, and this is why we have Terry Carter doing videos, okay? And let's get a hand for Terry. And yeah, because Mark Robinson and the guys that put this on, this is no small thing. Putting this on, and they're surely not making money. How many have you bought tickets? Okay, it's not a money maker, but it could be. But it's not that. I just want to give them thanks and tell you we appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions for Lon? Yeah?
The Monkey Cave. The Monkey Cave. Oh, yeah.
So, Monkey Cave is just a little bit south of 3 Oaks.
Monkey
on
Cave.
Highway 89. It's just a tourist attraction. You've got a bunch of rocks in there. At one time, it was actually a bar. So, but they turned it into a tourist attraction, stuff like that. So that's what it is.
But right next to Monkey Cave, the sand caves, they'll call them. All right, these sand caves there, they'll tell you that, oh, these were done by DuPont and they were looking for stuff. No, those sand caves there, now that's something to go witness. First of all, Monkey Cave is a great thing. They have artifacts in it. So going to see and spend your $5 or $10 to go into Monkey Cave is well worth it. Plus they got some sandwiches and other things. So it's a great place to stop. And you can see some great artifacts that they have. But these sand tunnels are amazing, and they were absolutely not done by DuPont. DuPont and all of these guys were out there along with John Wesley Powell and everyone else looking for ancient giants, ancient treasures, ancient history, records, whatever they could find. And I'll talk about that more tomorrow. But, any other questions?
As I was growing up, my friends and I would go, and when I was young and good looking, I could go and do rappelling and extreme hiking. We call them moki. We'd go in and look at these old caves, and many of them had artifacts in it. Don't tell anybody, I don't want to be arrested for what we did as a youth, but there was absolutely one thing that came out that was part of the artifacts in that cave. I don't know if you saw the cave of the skeletal remains with the arrowhead right here in the middle of the forehead. Yeah, just what? Okay. We found it! That's what found it, we found it, but need to go to some kind of place. But the arrowhead was massive. And if you look at, again, going to the archaeology, they looked at that and they can tell it was not Native American. What was it? A giant arrowhead? No, it wasn't a spear point. It was not a spear point, it was an arrow shaft, right here in the head. There was also something else we found. If you go in, I don't know if they still have it, I haven't been there for a while, but they have luminescent rocks that light up, okay? They're a blend of phosphorus and sulfur, and they glow brightly. The ancient ones lit up their places with this technology. Never ending. Once they're put together, they glow for literally forever. And they're quite bright lights. Remember that? Yes. Any other questions? Mark.
You're gonna drain the lake, and then what came in after? You wouldn't let it do it?
Yeah, I just mentioned that briefly. Yeah, the plan was to drain it off. It should have been no problem, but it came because of the environmental impact study, the EIS. The snail was found at that.
Yeah, the easiest way to access the treasure would have been to drain the lake. But the federal government came in and said, hey, you've got an endangered species on your property, and you can't touch that lake. So,
Snail did protect.
right, it did. So we weren't able to access the treasure.
That's why.
Ducks? Are we talking geese?
What's that? The question, I guess, Mark said, why was the lake not drained, the pond, the big pond? That was why. And so it was definitely thought it was said to do that, but, you know, well, there's kind of, if it's all natural, these are all endangered species, how about the ducks and the geese that come in naturally and flow in there? They just love those things. So some creative soul put some geese and ducks, domestic, in there, and they started really gobbling up those wonderful little snails. And they couldn't find out who did it. And I would take the Fifth Amendment on that one, all right?
There's a question up there.
Up here. Go ahead.
Hey, first off, finish off what the fishing game tried to do about them snails that the ducks ate and the geese ate.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened is,
Question.
The question, repeat the question.
okay, he asked what happened to the geese and the ducks that were put on the 3 lakes. And actually, we found out who put them on there. It was a ranch. What's the name of the ranch, Sean? Deer Springs. Yeah, Larry. So what happened was when the federal government told Dad that the snail was there and that the ponds and the pasture close by was the habitat of the snail, and he couldn't do anything with that. Then they also warned him, they said, don't put anything on there that will harm the snail, because they put a $50,000 price tag on each snail. So if you killed one snail, it's $50,000 and you could go to jail. So what happened was when Dad came down one time and he sees all these geese on the pond, he freaks out because he's really worried about what the federal government is going to do. So he actually called up the National Fish and Game, the guy, and told him what was happening because he didn't want somebody to report it so that they might blame Dad. So anyway, they said, hold on, we'll be right down there. We're going to kill those geese and pump and cut their guts open and see how many snails they've eaten.
Oh my God.
So when Dad heard that, he called the newspaper gal down there and warned her that the federal government was coming to kill the geese and get these snails. So she got animal people from all over.
That was us, Katie Thompson,
Okay.
and we did, we pulled it. Wait, you're gonna kill these poor innocent ducks and
Right.
geese? They're doing natural things too.
They had the media there. So when the federal government saw all these people here, they decided, well, we better not kill these geese. So they confiscated them and they took them and pumped their stomachs. Now, what I understand is they didn't find any snails, which was a good thing for Dad because they might have tried to pin it on him. But because we didn't learn until years after who had actually put them on there. So, okay.
Who had their hand raised and had a question? You did. So he's basically saying there's a book called Quest Beyond Our Reach that is available at Moki Cave that apparently touches on a bunch of what we're talking about and other things in Kanab. Anyone else have a question? Yes?
I just want to say, I've been doing that tour with Tony Simple. I took people up Johnson and up that. The best one. Garth Chamberlain created Moki Cave.
Just so that we can hear that.
Chamberlain created Moki Cave, and he did it because up on the top were dinosaur tracks. So he cut those out and he brought them down into that and built that cave. And he created the bar so that people could come out. And he used to have a big Indian standing out in front of there. And he would sit in the cave, and when they would walk in, he would start talking to them with the microphone and this big Indian. And so it was really phenomenal, and he created that for tourists. And there's a lot of story to this. And you and I have to talk about it.
Yes, we do.
All right, then what was your question?
Did anybody ever connect how the snail got only in Mexico and only in Utah?
Did anyone ever connect why the golden snail is in Mexico and then at Three Lakes? Actually, I'm going to say something that most people don't know. I'm going to add to it because it hasn't been said. That golden snail is found in a certain section of the Grand Canyon. Guess what part of the Grand Canyon it's found in? The part that you can't go to.
Wow.
Yeah. So 3 places technically. Anyone else with a question? Yes, sir.
This is for kind of everybody. My uncle lived in Fillmore, and he discovered some hieroglyphs in Fillmore Canyon. And there was a cavern or chamber that they dug a deep hole in to find the treasure there. And there's a lot.
Yeah,
of
there's a panel, and the question is about this panel of Fillmore ancient writings. It's about 4 lines long. There's it's a matching set to the same hieroglyphics in Cedar City, Iron County. Okay, there's a lot of, I had it on my blog many times. Okay, my blog's been cut off. There's, where those glyphs are, there was a carving of a person with a cross head holding a globe. It's called the shot put guy is what we call it, but it's very ancient and very well carved out of it. So the question he had was, what if anybody knows about what happened in Fillmore? I knew very well what happened in Fillmore. There was an excavation going down, running out of time, the boss is telling me, but they went down, some people that I do know went down and they were asphyxiated by poisonous gas. There were fatalities there. So it's been shut down and cemented. That's the answer.
I call them the mystery glyphs. There's 39 of them sites scattered throughout the western United States, and that site right there, 3 people lost their lives, mysterious deaths, and it's a mystery.
See, Terry knows. Yes, go ahead.
Just a really quick plug. He's not going to stand up and say it himself, but if you're interested in all this, you want to hear the history of the things that have happened and just read them for yourself, talk to this guy. He's got a book. He's got a PDF that you can just buy from him. It's that book.
He's a young guy for having so much information.
Yeah, he's done a lot of research. It's really, if you're interested, check it out. Ask him to get.
What's the name of the book?
What's it called again? The Treasure of Three Lakes Ranch.
Yeah.
QR code.
He's got a QR code.
Lon also has the QR code.
Lon has a QR code. He has a QR code. If you're interested, it's awesome. Check it out.
Pardon me? What is the treasure? Okay, so
Alien technology.
we have a lot of different metal detecting equipment on Three Lakes. One guy brought on Three Lakes what is called the Ranger Tel. I don't know if anybody's heard of that. But this piece of equipment they can actually program into it whatever they want it to detect. Now, Bob will tell you this, because this is true. Every metal, gold, silver, whatever it is, puts out a certain frequency, and they're different from each other. So you can actually program a certain frequency into this machine, and it will just detect gold or silver or diamonds or rubies or emeralds. Well, anyway, this guy came on 3 legs with this technology. He detected everything. Gold, silver, large amounts of gold, silver, diamonds, rubies, and emeralds. So that's what's on it.
Yeah, so what is it? Let me tell you, my take, this is my opinion for 40 plus years of doing this and investing. This is what I think, it's my belief. The Aztec story is amazing. And Montezuma, all of it, Recapture Creek, is all a part of Utah history. Okay? Montezuma escaped and much of his treasure did come here. But what you're missing, they were coming back to where they knew it originated from. Okay? What the Aztecs were a part, in my opinion, my research is simply this. They knew the ancient technology. The whole Aslan story of where they originated, the 7 caverns, is a deeper, bigger story, and that involves my property. Why I'm 40 years into this is what I'm studying. It's here in Uinta County. Okay, not to shame, no problem to the mayor. Okay, the neighboring county is Uinta County. We've traced it to they were coming back to Aslan, but not because of what they were hiding, because what was already here. Already here. Okay. Oh, okay, so the technology, the caverns, the ancient ones, these are not Aztec origins in my opinion. They are ancient. If you want to believe in the Bible as I did, Genesis 6, these are the Nephilim, these are the giants, this is who were here. Come to listen to my friend Dan, and an amazing discovery. Just last year, thank you Dan, a Nephilim skeleton wasn't discovered. Yeah it was, it's here, and it's been covered up again. And Dan will tell you his story. It's his find, it's not mine. I'm just color commentary for what he's doing. But it's real, folks. The technology and the ancient work is not just here in Utah. Listen to me now. The bottom of the Grand Canyon is Egyptian. Tunnels of antiquity going back to the Holy Land. In 2014, I'll just say this now because we're running out of time. But I was invited by the State Department to go out and witness the Scroll of the Treasury. And covered in Palestine, not Israel. Okay, the Palestinian Archaeological Authority is no credibility. The Scroll of the Treasury is all about Solomon and the reality of Solomon's abilities and his wisdom. What happened with Solomon is one of the enduring mysteries of what happened to 42 years of treasury. The Scroll of Treasury explains it, and we're talking about everything we're talking about here, plus some. It all is explained. Okay?
Yeah, and I just want to come from our family perspective is that and what we believe everyone has just overlooked. Everyone. And that is, our true search has been for the tomb of Montezuma. And I'll get into deeper detail with my talk on Saturday night. But we're looking for the tomb of Montezuma and those ancient records, ancient technologies. We know they exist. We know they had technology going at least probably 100,000 years because the Aztec sunstone documents 26,000 years of science and technology and their migrations and their previous worlds, as was being discussed. How many people here know that the Aztecs have codices hidden in the Vatican, these ones have snuck out, that they have the flood story, that they have Noah and his wife. They have these in the codices. They have Adam and Eve, the first 2 Aztecs, and they have the twin sons, Cain and Abel, in their codices. So this goes back, I say we are looking for the tomb of Montezuma that holds the ancient records of Atlantis, the pre-flood global civilization that is staring all of us right in our face. There's a reason why the Grand Canyon has sections named after Egyptians. Ott was touching on this. Because the Aztecs, the Egyptian, the Maya, the Inca, they were all connected. Unbeknownst and untold to us, we're told they're isolated. These are isolated civilizations. No, just like our world governments today have diplomatic relations, so did these ancient civilizations, and it was far greater than some political BS. This was ancient technology. Each one of them, why did they have the flood story? Why did they have the Noah story? Because each civilization had individuals chosen to make it through the great flood, to save this technology, this wisdom that is meant for a time to be revealed. And all of you here are clearly waking up to this cosmic reality, or you wouldn't be here. Now, I'm going to stop talking because I get lost.
Going back to some of the stories, one thing I failed to mention when this
Go on all day.
went into the cavern, when he pulled his bit out, there was flakes of gold on the bit.
Wow.
So that happened. My wife Mel wants to. Oh, you want?
You got a question?
Yes. Yeah. Can you tell us the time or the story about as you were leaving the Three Lakes that you encountered an alien and the DoD coming in?
Yay.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I'm talking about.
That comes from Mel.
I'm going to co-sign that.
We're talking about the treasure of Three Lakes. So, okay, I'll just tell you.
Yeah, good question. Thank you.
Yeah. Actually, wrap it up.
He said after this.
We got.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so on Three Lakes, we've had several documentaries done. One was done by the History Channel 2. A company out of the UK did a documentary. Dan and I have been a part of those over the years. It's interesting because when the History Channel filmed their documentary, we were down at the pond, and the camera was looking up into the sky, and it picked up an object. Nobody knew about it, but what happened is the DoD, some guy from the DoD, the Department of Defense, was looking at this documentary, and he saw this silver ball going across the sky extremely slow, but it was a really big silver ball. They actually sent me the video of it. Anyway, so the DoD did some analysis of this picture, of this object, and they determined that it was UFO. So they were trying to get a hold of me to find out if I had seen this object around the area before. And anyway, finally they got a hold of me, and I told them no and all that. But when we were moving off of Three Lakes, and I can, one-on-one, I can tell you how we lost the property to the best friends, which was a tragic thing. But one night, one day, Mel and I went down to Three Lakes to grab some more stuff. We brought a trailer and a pickup, packed up a whole bunch of stuff, and we were heading back north. We came out of Circleville, and we started heading north again. It makes a big loop. And when we were just on the highway, it was dark at this time. It was Halloween. I forget that, Halloween. And I started looking in my rearview mirror, and I see this great big one light, and it's about, I'd say 100 feet off the ground. And so I got nervous about it, and I sped up to 90 miles an hour. I'm pulling this big trailer, and I'm on Highway 89. And that thing would just stay the same distance from me. I'd slow down, and it would slow down, and speed up. So all the way to Richfield, we had this big ball in the sky. Weirdest thing, it's crazy. We were scared. We started getting afraid about it. It's crazy. But anyway, that's our UFO deal.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to come, because we got to wrap it up, if you want to come talk to Law Direct, ask him some questions, I guess we'll be over in that area.